Anna, a silver-haired lady whose hair softly cascaded over her shoulders, walked through the quiet suburban neighborhood with a shopping bag filled with fresh vegetables and aromatic herbs. Her movements were careful, each step meticulously calculated, revealing the wisdom of her years. She was eager to get home and start preparing her vegetable soup, a recipe that had become a kind of weekly ritual for her, a moment of pleasure and remembrance of good times with her late husband. As she turned the corner of her street, Anna noticed something alarming. The front door of her modest townhouse was wide open, gently swaying in the light afternoon breeze. A sense of unease took hold of her. Her heart, usually calm and steady, began to beat with an urgency she hadn't felt in years. Clutching the bag against her chest, she quickened her pace, growing increasingly worried. As she approached, the scene that unfolded before her eyes seemed like something out of a nightmare. Men she had never seen before were inside her house, removing the last pieces of furniture. The sofa where she embroidered at night, the bookshelf that held the works of her favorite authors, even the small wall clock that marked the peaceful rhythm of her days. Everything was being taken away, disappearing before her eyes. "What is going on here?" Her voice came out weaker than she intended, trembling with a mix of fear and confusion. The men stopped what they were doing for a moment, looking at each other, clearly not expecting to be confronted. One of them, a burly young man with paint stains on his t-shirt, shrugged and answered, "Ma'am, we're just here to do the job. We were told to clear out the place and get it ready for some renovations." "Renovations? But no one told me about any renovations. This is my house." Anna felt indignation rising within her, mixing with fear and confusion. At this moment, an older man, wearing a gray suit and holding a clipboard, approached with an air of authority. "I'm Nathan," he said, his voice conveying a cold calm. "And according to the documents we have, this property now belongs to our company. We're here to prepare the ground for a new development." Anna could hardly believe what she was hearing. "There must be some mistake. I've lived here for over 30 years. How can my house belong to someone else?" Unperturbed, Nathan leafed through the papers on his clipboard and showed her a document. "Look, here is the signed sale. It's all legal and correct." Anna took the paper with trembling hands, her eyes widening as she recognized the signature at the bottom of the document. It was Marvin's, her son. A whirlwind of emotions hit her like a gale. Pain, betrayal, disbelief. Tears began to form in her eyes, blurring the letters before her sight. I need to sit down," she murmured, feeling her legs weaken. Nathan gestured for one of the workers to bring a chair, and Anna sat down, trying to absorb the shock that her own home, filled with memories of a lifetime, had been sold without her knowledge. As the afternoon leaned towards evening, Anna knew she needed help. With her mind still spinning, she picked up her phone and dialed Janine's number, her daughter, who always knew what to do in times of crisis. The phone rang, and Janine's voice soon sounded, clear and concerned. "Janine, something terrible has happened," began Anna, her voice choked with emotion. "I need you." The momentary silence on the other side of the line was broken by Janine's firm voice. "I'm on my way, Mom. Hang in there." As Anna tried to catch her breath, still seated in an improvised chair, one of the workers, a tall young man with worn jeans and a t-shirt that had seen better days, noticed her growing distress. With a look of sympathy, he pointed towards Nathan, the man in the gray suit commanding the operation with a cold efficiency. "Speak to him, ma'am. He's in charge here." Nathan approached, his leather shoes echoing on the empty floor of the house that once brimmed with warmth and life. His face bore an expression of boredom, as if selling a house and evicting an elderly woman were mere items on his daily agenda. "Ms. Anna, I know this is hard, but I assure you everything has been done within the law," he said, extending a set of documents to her. With trembling hands, Anna took the papers, her eyes quickly scanning the cold, formal words that declared the sale of the land. Her heart tightened as she saw the signature on the contract, a fluid, familiar line she knew all too well. It was Marvin's, her son's signature, stamped on the page as a definitive symbol of betrayal. How? How could this have happened? Anna murmured, her voice choked with sadness and shock. Marvin. He never told me anything about selling the house. Nathan sighed, his patience appearing to wear thin. Look, ma'am, I'm not here to discuss family details. We're just following orders based on this contract. Your son legally sold the property. All we can do now is proceed as planned. Nathan's words sounded distant to Anna's ears as tears began to carve salty trails down her wrinkled face. She leafed through the documents, each page an additional blow to her broken heart. Between legal terms and clauses, the reality of her loss solidified, not just of her home but perhaps of her son as well. Nathan, please, Anna implored with a choked voice. There must be something we can do. It can't just be like this. This is my home, my haven, where I raised my children. The man in the suit looked at Anna, his gaze softening slightly upon seeing the genuine despair in her eyes. Ma'am, if you wish, you can try to speak directly with the purchasing company. I'm only following orders, but perhaps they can offer some solution. I can't promise anything, but I can give you the contact of our office. Grateful for any spark of hope, Anna noted down the contact information with still trembling fingers. Nathan, seeing that there was nothing more to be discussed, excused himself and returned to supervise the work of the men, leaving Anna alone with her tormented thoughts and the documents that had changed her life. With her head spinning, Anna slowly stood up. She knew she needed help, more than ever. With the documents still in hand, she left the house, each step an effort. She anxiously awaited the arrival of Janine, her daughter, who was now her only hope to untangle this knot of betrayal and legalities. Anna, still clutching the documents, could hardly believe what her eyes saw and what her heart felt. She slowly made her way out of the house, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. As she reached the sidewalk, with trembling legs and a spinning mind, she found temporary refuge on the curb, where she sat enveloped in the growing shadow of the evening. There, as she watched the workers continue their dismantling work, as if they were tearing pieces from her own history, the reality of what was happening finally began to settle in. The scene seemed like a hallucination, a nightmare from which she could not awaken. The voices of the workers echoed, distant and muffled, while Anna fought against the wave of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Taking a deep breath, she pulled her phone from her purse with hands that still trembled. Pressing each digit seemed to require a Herculean effort. Finally, the phone began to ring, and after just one ring, Janine answered. Anna's voice was laden with fragile urgency as she spoke. Janine, my dear, something terrible has happened. I don't know what to do. Janine, always the rock in storms, responded promptly, her voice imbued with concern that quickly turned into resolve. Mom, tell me what happened. I'm here for you. Anna tried to explain, the words stumbling over each other in her haste and despair. It's the house, Janine. They are saying it was sold. That Marvin sold it. I don't understand. They are taking everything. I didn't sign anything. Marvin never told me. There was a pause on the other side of the line as Janine processed the avalanche of information. Okay, Mom, I'm on my way. Don't worry, we'll sort this out. Stay where you are and try not to talk to anyone else until I get there. Please hurry, pleaded Anna, her voice breaking as a new wave of tears threatened to escape. Janine, feeling the gravity of the situation even from a distance, was already grabbing her keys and rushing to her car. I'm coming now, Mom. I promise, we'll clear all this up. Hanging up the phone, Janine felt a weight in her own chest, a mix of anger and determination. As she drove quickly toward her mother's house, her mind worked frantically, considering all possible legal and personal actions that might be necessary to undo the damage that had been caused. Meanwhile, Anna remained seated, her figure diminished by the overwhelming sense of loss. She watched, almost dissociated, as the last traces of her past life were carried away. Each piece of furniture, each box, seemed to take with it pieces of her memories, leaving her with a sense of emptiness. The sun began to set, casting long shadows over the scene, transforming the ordinary into something grotesque and strangely distorted. Anna felt the chill of twilight begin to set in, but inside her, a much deeper cold had taken hold, the cold of fear and uncertainty about the future. Twilight was giving way to night when Janine arrived at the casino, a vibrant and chaotic place where hopes and despairs intertwined with the incessant sound of slot machines and the glittering glow of colorful lights. Pushing the door open, she was immediately enveloped by the dense atmosphere of the venue, a mix of cigarette smoke and cheap perfume, while a melody of falling coins and euphoric laughter filled the air. Janine scanned the hall filled with figures absorbed in their quest for quick fortune. Her eyes finally landed on Marvin, who was leaning against one of the machines, a drink in his hand and a mocking smile on his lips. He was clearly intoxicated, the superficial joy reflecting the artificial brilliance of the endlessly flashing lights. Without hesitation, Janine advanced through the crowd, her anger growing with every step. Marvin, noticing his sister's approach, attempted to compose a look of surprise and innocence. "Marvin," Janine called out, her voice cutting through the noise around them. "We need to talk. Now." Marvin gave a crooked smile, trying to mask his nervousness. "Janine, what a surprise to see you here. Did you come to try your luck at the machines too?" "I'm not here for games, Marvin. You sold Mom's house. How could you do that without even consulting her?" Janine's voice trembled with indignation, the frustration evident in every word. Marvin shook his head, a pathetic attempt at defense forming in his alcohol-clouded mind. "Oh, that. Janine, you know how tight things are for me. I needed the money. Mom doesn't need such a big house anyway." "You had no right, Marvin. That house is everything Mom has, and you tricked her." Janine was almost shouting now, attracting curious glances from other casino patrons. "Look, I can figure out a way to fix this," Marvin stammered, his face contorting in discomfort. "You're going to fix this," Janine stated, her voice low and dangerous. "You're going to help undo this sale, or I will make sure you legally answer for every penny you took from her." "This isn't a threat, Marvin. It's a promise." Marvin looked at Janine, seeing the fierce determination in her eyes and knowing she was not joking. He ran his hand through his hair, sighing deeply. All right. I'll see what I can do. But it's not that simple." "I don't care how complicated it is," Janine cut in, her patience rapidly waning. "You have until tomorrow to start resolving this, Marvin. I'm serious." With that, Janine turned and left the casino as abruptly as she had entered, leaving Marvin behind, still shaking his head, trying to assimilate the gravity of the situation he had created. As she left the noisy environment and returned to the silence of the night, Janine felt a mix of anger and resolution pulsing through her veins. Now, it was a matter of waiting to see if Marvin would indeed take any action to correct the mistake before it was too late. After leaving the casino, Janine met up with her mother, Anna, and their lawyer, Sarah, a woman with a firm voice and confident posture who had been hired to help untangle the legal mess Marvin had created around the property. Together, they headed to the headquarters of the company now claiming ownership of Anna's house, determined to confront those responsible and seek a resolution. Upon arrival, the company's imposing building rose like a monolith of glass and steel, reflecting the rays of the afternoon sun. They entered the lobby, a spacious and modern area, where they were immediately intercepted by a receptionist. "May I help you?" asked the receptionist, a young man with a friendly face but a cautious look. "We are here to speak with the person responsible for a recent property purchase." "It's very important," Sarah said, taking the lead. "Sorry, but do you have a scheduled meeting?" the receptionist inquired, typing something into his computer. "No, but it is urgent," Janine insisted, her frustration evident in her voice. "Unfortunately, without a prior appointment, I can't let you go up." "I'm sorry," the receptionist replied, his expression inflexible. Faced with the refusal, the trio decided to wait outside the building, where the afternoon breeze began to blow, bringing slight relief from the heat. Seated on a park bench in front of the building, They watched the entrance, waiting for any sign of the company owner or someone with enough authority to resolve the situation. Hours passed, and the daylight began to fade, tinting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Janine and Anna's hope was starting to wane when finally the building door opened and a young man appeared. He looked hurried, speaking on his cell phone with a serious expression. It was Richard, the owner of the company. Janine immediately stood up, recognizing him from a photo she had seen in a newspaper article. "Mr. Richard," she called out, her voice laden with a mix of hope and determination. Richard looked up, clearly annoyed at being interrupted. He was about to dismiss them with a gesture when an older figure emerged behind him. It was a woman dressed impeccably, exuding an air of authority that contrasted with Richard's impatience. It was Nicoli, his mother. "Richard, who are these ladies?" Nicoli asked, her voice filled with curiosity and a hint of concern. Before Richard could respond, Anna stepped forward, the emotion clear on her face. "Please, ma'am, we need your help. My son sold our house without my knowledge, and now your son claims it belongs to his company." Nicoli looked at Richard, an eyebrow raised in inquiry. Realizing he could not simply ignore the situation in his mother's presence, Richard sighed and ended the call on his cell phone. "Let's talk," Nicoli said decisively, indicating that they should follow her to a nearby cafe. "This is not the place to resolve this." Relieved to finally have the attention of someone influential, Janine, Anna, and Sarah followed Nicoli and Richard to the cafe, where they could discuss the issue more calmly and in depth. As they walked, the sky was already darkening, presaging the complexity of the negotiations that were to come. When Richard, Nicoli, and the three women arrived at the cozy cafe near the office, the atmosphere was welcoming, with soft lights and wooden furniture creating a tranquil ambience that contrasted with the group's tension. As they settled into a reserved table in the corner, Nicoli wasted no time addressing the issue that had brought them there. "Richard, can you explain exactly what's happening here?" Her voice was calm but carried a firmness that demanded the truth. Richard, visibly uncomfortable with the situation, began to recount the events, trying to paint the transaction as a simple business deal. "Mom, it's just a matter of property that was legally acquired by the company. Apparently, there's some misunderstanding with the lady here about the sale." Nicoli turned to Anna, whose eyes were filled with a mix of hope and despair. "Please, tell me your version of the facts," Nicoli kindly requested. Encouraged by Nicoli's receptiveness, Anna began to tell her story. "My home, the home that my husband and I built and where we raised our children, was sold without my knowledge. My son, Marvin, he did it without telling me anything. I never signed anything, I never agreed to this." Janine added fervently, "And now we're trying to reverse this sale before my mother permanently loses her home. Marvin manipulated everything." Nicoli listened attentively, her expression growing increasingly concerned. After Anna and Janine finished, she turned to Richard, who was avoiding eye contact. "Richard, this doesn't seem like something we should ignore. If this sale was made dishonestly, it's our duty to correct it." Richard frowned, clearly conflicted. "Mom, the lawyers reviewed everything. Legally, the sale is correct." "Legal does not necessarily mean fair, Richard," Nicoli quickly responded. "If we made a mistake, or if we inadvertently took advantage of someone, it's our responsibility to rectify it. I don't want our company to be seen as one that takes advantage of others' vulnerabilities." Nicoli's determination was palpable. She turned to Anna and Janine with a resolute expression. "We won't solve this here tonight. But I want you to know that I will take this as a personal matter. Anna, Janine, I would like to invite you to come to my mansion tomorrow. We can discuss this more thoroughly, with all necessary documents and in a more suitable setting." Anna, whose hope had been nearly exhausted, felt renewed. "Thank you, ma'am. Really, thank you," she said, her voice laden with gratitude. Janine, equally relieved but still cautious, agreed. "We appreciate it, Nicoli. We'll be there." With plans set, they finished their drinks. Nicoli assured that all details would be prepared for the meeting the next day, while Richard, still somewhat reluctant, agreed to participate in the further discussions. As they left the cafe, the group felt a mix of emotions. The night had fully fallen, and the streets were quiet, reflecting the brief respite they had found from the storm of worries they still needed to face. As the car passed through the imposing gates of Nicoli's mansion, Anna and Janine looked on in awe at the expanse of the property, with its meticulously kept gardens and the elegant architecture of the grand house that emerged ahead. The environment conveyed a serenity that contrasted with the turbulence of the past few days. Upon entering the mansion, they were greeted by discreet servants who led them to a spacious living room, where velvet sofas and carved armchairs invited a comfort almost forgotten. Nicoli was already waiting for them, her elegant posture complemented by a silk dress that reflected the soft light from the large windows. "Anna, Janine, please, make yourselves at home," Nicoli said, gesturing for them to sit. A servant approached quietly, serving tea in delicate porcelain cups that tinkled gently as they were placed on the coffee table. "Thank you, Nicoli," Anna responded, accepting the tea and trying to settle into the luxurious atmosphere that was unfamiliar to her. As they sipped their tea, Nicoli started a light conversation, asking about Anna's life, and soon they began to share memories of the past. "Anna, do you remember the school trip we took to the river when we were young? I recall a brave girl who helped a classmate in trouble. I think that girl was you." Anna blinked, surprised, as the memories began to flow. "My goodness, Nicoli, it was you. I remember now. You were drowning, and I just did what anyone would do. No, it wasn't just anything. You saved me," Nicoli said, her eyes gleaming with a mix of gratitude and admiration. "That mocked me more than you can imagine. It's not every day that someone has their life saved by a schoolmate." The conversation continued, and with each shared story, the bond between them deepened. Nicoli was clearly moved, not just by Anna's current situation, but also by the unexpected connection that had resurfaced from their shared past. "Anna, knowing that our connection goes back so far makes me want to help you even more," Nicoli confessed, setting her cup on the table. "We will find a way to right this wrong." Moved by Nicoli's empathy and support, Anna felt a surge of hope. "I can't thank you enough, Nicoli. Knowing I'm not alone in this means everything to me." The afternoon unfolded with more conversation and planning on how to handle the house situation. Nicoli assured that she would mobilize all necessary resources to investigate the sale and explore all available legal options. As the sun began to set, casting golden hues on the waters of a small lake visible from the window, the conversation between the two women, filled with laughter and tears, promised not just the restoration of a home, but also the rebirth of a friendship that had been forgotten by time. Far from the serenity and decision-making at Nicoli's mansion, Marvin was immersed in his own world of desperate schemes and plans. Night had fallen when he entered a dimly lit bar, a forgotten place on the outskirts of the city, with low lights and an atmosphere thick with smoke and murmurs. The locale was frequented by figures who preferred to remain anonymous, away from curious and judging eyes. Marvin made his way to the back of the bar, where a middle-aged man awaited him. This was Pete, a longtime friend and occasional accomplice in some of Marvin's less reputable dealings. Pete waved at him with a sly smile, his face briefly illuminated by the flame of a lighter. "Marvin, my friend, you look worried," said Pete, as Marvin sat down across from him, the sound of glasses and conversations in the background creating a constant hum. "I am, Pete. I am," Marvin admitted, glancing around nervously before leaning forward and lowering his voice. "Things are complicated. I sold my mom's house, and now there are problems. I need money to sort this out before everything gets worse." Pete raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You sold your own mother's house? Marvin, that's risky. What are you planning to do now?" "I'm trying to gather what's left of the money to maybe buy back the property or something. I don't know yet," Marvin murmured, his gaze drifting to the drink that had just arrived. As they discussed potential solutions, Marvin's phone vibrated on the table, interrupting their conversation. He picked up the phone and read a message from Janine, his expression darkening with each word. "It's my sister," Marvin explained, showing the message to Pete. "She's warning me about the legal consequences. It seems they're taking this seriously." Pete took a sip of his drink, pondering the situation. "Marvin, you need to take care of yourself. If your sister is talking about legal consequences, you might be in more trouble than you think. Maybe it's time for you to consider doing the right thing." Marvin ran his hand through his hair, clearly agitated. "I know, Pete, I know. But it's not that simple. I need a plan, something that really works." The two continued to talk, outlining strategies and considering all possible options. Marvin was increasingly aware that he could not simply ignore Janine's warnings. He needed to act, and fast. As the night progressed, Marvin and Pete drafted a plan that might, at best, remedy the situation without causing further harm. However, uncertainty still hung in the air, like the smoke that filled the bar. Marvin knew that the next decisions he made could define the course of his life and his mother's well-being. As the conversation concluded, Marvin stood up, determination firming his steps. He needed to be prepared to face not only his family but also the possible legal repercussions of his actions. As he left the bar, the weight of his choices weighed on him, and the cold night only intensified the sense that significant challenges lay ahead. As dawn began to paint the sky with soft shades of orange and pink, Nicoli, Anna, and Janine were still gathered in the expansive library of the mansion, surrounded by stacks of legal documents and contracts. The mahogany table was covered with papers, while Sarah, the lawyer, explained the legal details and the implications of each clause. "It's evident that the sale was conducted in a dubious manner, and there are legal loopholes we can exploit," Sarah was commenting, pointing to a specific paragraph in the sales contract. "But this will take time, and legal battles can be draining, especially for someone in Anna's situation." Anna, seated next to Janine, listened with a mix of hope and exhaustion. The night had been long, and the weight of recent events was beginning to take its toll. She held her daughter's hand, seeking comfort in her presence. Nicoli, observing the scene, felt a growing determination. Empathy for her old schoolmate, combined with memories of her own help received years ago, reinforced her desire to act not just as a businesswoman, but as a friend. "Anna, Janine, I know we could try to undo the sale through the courts, but I also know that could be prolonged and bring more stress to you," Nicoli began, her voice full of resolve. "I don't want you to go through any more, Anna. Not after everything you've already faced." Anna looked at Nicoli, their weary expressions lit by a glimmer of curiosity. "What do you suggest, Nicoli?" she asked, her voice weak but hopeful. "I have a proposal that could resolve our situation more immediately and definitively," Nicoli said, rising to walk around the room, her figure reflecting the morning light now filling the room. "I am willing to buy a new house for you, Anna. A house that will not just be a roof, but a true home, a place where you can start a new chapter, free from the shadows of the past." Janine and Anna exchanged looks of surprise and relief. "You would do that, Nicoli?" Janine asked, her voice laden with gratitude. "Yes, I would. And I will," Nicoli affirmed, her gaze firm and gentle. "It's the least I can do for a friend who once saved my life. I consider this not just a gesture of support but of justice." Anna, overcome with emotion, felt tears well up again, this time not from despair but from relief and gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you, Nicoli. This means the world to me." "There's no need for thanks, Anna. We'll ensure that this new house is everything you need and deserve," Nicoli responded, a warm smile adorning her face. With the decision made, the group spent the rest of the morning discussing the practical details. Nicoli promised to involve her best real estate agents to find the perfect house for Anna. Meanwhile, Sarah would continue to work on the legal aspects, ensuring that all other potential implications were carefully managed. As the meeting finally concluded, everyone felt a mix of fatigue and hope. The daylight was now fully present, bathing the room in a brightness that seemed to symbolize the new beginning awaiting Anna. With hearts lightened but aware of the challenges still possible, they prepared for the next steps. The morning was sunny and fresh as Nikoli, Anna, and Janine rode in the luxury car toward the new house. The journey to the quiet neighborhood where the property was located was filled with light conversations, but Anna's anticipation was palpable, manifesting in her trembling hands and frequent glances out the window. As they arrived, the car slowed in front of an elegant residence that seemed to seamlessly emerge from the well-kept landscape of the neighborhood. The house was a perfect blend of modernity and comfort, with clean architectural lines and large windows that promised to flood the interior with natural light. "Anna, welcome to your new home," Nikoli announced with a warm smile as they stepped out of the car. Anna took her first steps towards the residence, her gaze sweeping over every detail of the facade before crossing the threshold. The interior was as impressive as the exterior, with a spacious entry hall that opened into a tastefully decorated living room with subtle elegance. Large windows revealed a meticulously kept garden, where colorful flowers swayed in a gentle breeze. It's wonderful," Anna murmured, her voice choked with emotion. Tears glistened in her eyes as she walked through the rooms, each one revealing new details that spoke of comfort and security. Janine, closely following, put an arm around her mother's shoulders, sharing the emotional moment. "Nikoli, we don't know how to thank you for all this. You've turned a terrible situation into something so beautiful," she said, her voice also trembling with emotion. "There's no need for thanks," Nikoli responded, watching the mother and daughter with a look of satisfaction. "Seeing you happy and safe here is all I could want. Remember, this house is more than bricks and mortar. It's a new beginning, a place to make new memories." As they explored the house, each room seemed to tell a story of thoughtfulness and care, from the modernly equipped kitchen to the cozy bedrooms and the tranquil study that seemed perfect for Anna's moments of reflection. Eventually, they made their way to the garden, where a small tea table was set under an arbor. Seated there, surrounded by greenery and the singing of birds, Anna finally found words to express her feelings. "Nikoli, you've given me more than a house today. You've given me hope and a reminder of what true friendship can do. I will never forget this," Anna said, holding Nikoli's hand. Nikoli smiled, squeezing Anna's hand in response. "And I've gained the chance to repay a very old favor, Anna. Our renewed friendship, after so many years, was the real gift for me." The three women spent the rest of the day there, talking and laughing, as the sun slowly moved across the sky. The story of Anna and Nikoli, enriched by the past and rejuvenated by the present, became a testament to the strength of human bonds and the capacity to transform adversities into opportunities for growth and gratitude. The first lights of the morning gently illuminated the facade of Anna's new house, reflecting off the glass of the large windows and heralding the start of a new day and a new life. Inside the residence, Anna was already awake, walking through the still unfamiliar spaces with a mix of admiration and gratitude. As Anna explored, touching each surface and opening every door, a light expression of astonishment lit up her face with each new discovery. "Look at this, Janine!" she exclaimed, finding a small greenhouse attached to the kitchen, filled with herbs and small vegetables. "I can even start cooking with fresh ingredients every day." Janine, who was organizing some boxes in the living room, smiled upon hearing the joy in her mother's voice. "Mom, everything here was designed to bring comfort and joy. Nikoli really spared no effort." "It's more than I could have dreamed," Anna replied, pausing to look through the windows overlooking the garden where colorful flowers were beginning to bloom under the gentle touch of the morning sun. While Anna delighted in every detail of the house, Janine took care of the practical formalities. She was organizing essential services, such as transferring accounts and updating addresses, ensuring everything would run smoothly for her mother. Between phone calls and filling out forms, Janine also found time to unpack personal items, distributing them around the house so that each piece found its perfect place. During a moment of pause, Anna joined Janine, helping to arrange books on a shelf in the reading room. Do you think I'm being too sentimental for feeling so attached to this place so quickly? Anna asked, running her hand over the spine of an old cookbook she had brought with her. Not at all, Mom. This place is a symbol of a new beginning, and it's natural for you to feel this way. We're closing a difficult chapter and starting another full of possibilities, Janine responded, offering an encouraging smile. Anna nodded, her eyes filling with tears again, but this time they were tears of happiness. You're right, dear. And to think that without Nikoli and without you, none of this would be possible. I feel so blessed. The two continued organizing, talking about future plans and the many meals that would be prepared and shared in that kitchen. Each object finding its place in the new home helped to reinforce Anna's feeling of belonging, of finally being at home. In the heart of the city, inside a discreet building that housed various community support programs, Marvin took the first step toward redemption. Accompanied by Janine, who had arranged the meeting, he crossed the threshold of the recovery center with a mix of anxiety and determination. The environment was welcoming, with walls adorned with motivational posters and staff offering reassuring smiles. Marvin and Janine were greeted by a counselor, Lisa, whose calming presence seemed to dissipate some of the tension Marvin carried. Marvin, it's a big step to be here today, Lisa began, inviting them to sit down in a cozy small office. Talking about recovery is easy. Committing to it is where the real work begins. Marvin, nervous but honest, shared his struggles. I know I've caused a lot of pain. Not just financial, but emotional too. I want to change, I really do. I just don't know if I can. If I'm able to do it alone. Janine placed a comforting hand on his. You're not alone, Marvin. I'm here, and Nikoli has also offered her support. But the change has to start with you. Encouraged by his sister's presence, Marvin agreed to begin the rehabilitation program, which included individual therapy, support groups, and activities that promoted the development of healthy coping skills. Over the following days and weeks, he immersed himself in a rigorous routine, confronting his addictions and past mistakes with a new perspective. Therapy sessions revealed deep layers of guilt and remorse, and Marvin struggled to reconcile the man he was with the man he wished to become. In a particularly revealing dialogue with Lisa, he expressed his fear of failure. What if I can't do it? What if I fall again? Lisa, ever patient, replied firmly, Marvin, recovery is a journey, not a destination. Each day is a new chance to make different choices. And every step you take, even the small ones, is part of your progress. As time passed, the small triumphs began to accumulate. Marvin found pleasure in simple activities, like gardening and cooking, which the program encouraged. He began to slowly rebuild ties with his family, starting with difficult conversations and moments of shared vulnerability. Janine watched Marvin's progress with a mix of caution and pride. I'm seeing changes in you, Marvin, and that gives hope to all of us. As Marvin continued his journey of rehabilitation, he began to feel a transformation within himself, a sense that maybe, just maybe, he could redeem himself and restore the lost trust. On a cool Tuesday afternoon, those involved in the complex sale of Anna's house gathered in the office of Sarah, the lawyer handling the case. The setting was formal, with a large conference table dominating the space and stacks of meticulously organized documents at each end. Sarah, always professional in demeanor and with a detailed knowledge of relevant laws, was prepared to lead the meeting that would define many future aspects of the lives of Anna and Marvin. Anna, accompanied by Janine and Nikoli, sat on one side of the table, while Marvin, visibly more subdued due to his recent efforts in rehabilitation, took his place on the other side. The tension was palpable, but there was a glimmer of hope in the air, a sense that resolutions were within reach. Sarah began the meeting with clear objectivity. Today we are here to finalize the transfer of the property and address the legal responsibilities resulting from Marvin's actions. It is essential that everyone understands the implications of our decisions today. Turning to Anna, she continued, Anna, we will ensure that all documents are aligned to protect you and your new residents. I want to review with you all the legal safeguards we are implementing. Anna, still somewhat unsure about the legal terms but confident in Sarah's abilities, nodded with understanding and gratitude. "Thank you, Sarah. I trust you to help ensure this doesn't happen again." Sarah then turned her attention to Marvin. "Marvin, your role in this situation is delicate. We are setting up a plan that accounts for your actions but also recognizes your recent efforts to change. You will be responsible for some financial compensations, and we expect you to continue your treatment and rehabilitation as part of this agreement." Marvin swallowed hard, the reality of his responsibilities weighing down on him. "I understand," he said slowly. "I really don't want to be the person I was anymore. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Janine, observing the interaction, intervened with a crucial question. "Sarah, how can we be sure that these agreements will be upheld? What if Marvin fails again?" Sarah responded with a confident nod. "We have implemented several safety clauses that will be activated automatically if the terms are not met. Moreover, we will be monitoring the situation closely." As the meeting progressed, Sarah skillfully clarified each point, answering questions and dispelling concerns. With her guidance, the necessary signatures were finalized, each party acknowledging their responsibility in the process. At the end of the meeting, although the atmosphere was still charged, there was a collective sense of relief. Difficult decisions had been made, but with fairness and an eye toward the future. Everyone rose, exchanging looks that reflected a complex mix of remorse, gratitude, and cautious determination to move forward. As they prepared to leave the office, the conversations dwindled, and everyone focused on the next steps to be taken. The afternoon sun cast its golden light over Anna's new garden, where she was carefully tending to the newly planted flowers, a task she found both therapeutic and rejuvenating. The gentle aroma of roses and the song of birds created an almost magical atmosphere, a peaceful refuge from the whirlwind of the past few months. As she watered a bed of vibrant lilies, a car slowly approached on the gravel path leading to the front of the house. Anna looked up, shaded by her gardening hat, curious to see who might be visiting her on a quiet Thursday afternoon. It was Nicoli, emerging from her car with the grace and elegance that characterized her. Dressed casually but impeccably, she carried something in her arms that seemed precious by the careful way she held it. Anna, wiping her hands on her apron, walked to the gate to greet her. "Nicoli, what a pleasant surprise! What brings you here today?" Anna asked as she opened the gate. With a warm smile, Nicoli raised the item she was carrying. "I was organizing some closets at home and found something I thought you'd like to see," she said, revealing an old photo album. The two women settled on a garden bench, the album resting between them. Nicoli opened it carefully, and the pages began to reveal memories of a distant past. There were photos of them at school, images from school trips, birthday parties, and many casual moments captured that even Anna had forgotten. "Look at us here, at the graduation party." Nicoli pointed to a photo where both appeared smiling, wearing the fashionable dresses of the time. "You always had such a great sense of style," she commented, laughing. Anna laughed along, touched by the nostalgia. "I had forgotten about that party. I remember now that we danced so much my feet hurt the next day." As they turned the pages, each photo brought a story, a fragment of life they had shared and then forgotten. Easy laughter and conversations flowed, reinforcing the bond that had been rekindled over time. "These moments were so special, Nicoli. I had no idea you kept all these photos," Anna said, her voice filled with deep gratitude. "I keep many things that bring me good memories," Nicoli replied, "and I knew these photos were too precious to remain hidden in a box." The sun began to set, tinting the sky with hues of orange and pink, as they continued to revisit the past, each image a reminder of the many lives they had lived before their paths crossed again. Nicoli's unexpected visit not only brought back old memories, but also reaffirmed the beauty of being able to share new moments together. As daylight began to fade, they closed the album, their hearts lightened by the shared journey, both past and present. And as Nicoli prepared to leave, Anna felt a renewal of their friendship, a bridge between yesterday and today, full of possibilities for tomorrow. The days following Marvin's decision to commit to rehabilitation were filled with small victories and many challenges. However, the pressures of everyday life and the memories of a not-so-distant past began to weigh on him, like dark clouds gathering before a storm. On a particularly difficult night, as he walked home after a long therapy session, Marvin passed by an old bar where he used to meet friends. The sound of music and laughter coming from inside sparked a desire for a return to that old life, a life free of the responsibilities and weight he now felt on his shoulders. Marvin hesitated in front of the bar, his heart racing as he struggled internally with his conscience. "Just one drink," he murmured to himself, trying to justify what he knew was a mistake. "One won't make a difference." Upon entering, he was greeted by familiar looks and welcoming smiles. Momentarily feeling like his old self, Marvin succumbed, ordering drink after drink, each sip drowning both his discernment and his determination. The next day, with his head pounding and his heart full of remorse, Marvin could barely look at himself in the mirror. He had failed, not just himself but also those who had invested so much in his recovery. The weight of guilt was crushing. Janine, who had been a constant and supportive presence, immediately noticed the change in Marvin's behavior when she came to visit him. Finding several empty bottles hidden in the trash, her heart sank and disappointment painted her face. "Marvin, what happened?" she asked, her voice laden with concern and frustration. Marvin couldn't find the words to explain or justify his actions. With tears in his eyes, he simply shook his head, ashamed. I don't know, Janine. I thought I could control it, that it would be different this time." Janine sighed, her initial anger giving way to compassion. She knew that recovery was not linear and that relapses, though discouraging, were part of the process. "Marvin, this doesn't mean everything is lost. But you need to be honest with me and with yourself. If we're going to make this work, you can't face this alone." Determined not to let her brother fall back into the shadows of his addictions, Janine picked up the phone and began seeking additional help. She scheduled appointments with a new therapist and looked for support groups that could offer Marvin the community and strength he needed to overcome this setback. As Marvin watched Janine take charge of the situation, a new feeling of gratitude and resolve began to form within him. Despite the slip, there was a new opportunity to get up and try again, bolstered by his sister's unwavering support. On a bright afternoon filled with anticipation, Nicole's mansion transformed into a scene of celebration and joy. With meticulous help from Anna, who wanted to ensure that every detail reflected her gratitude and happiness, the house was decorated with subtle elegance, using fresh flowers from the gardens and soft lighting that created a welcoming and festive atmosphere. Nicole, dressed with effortless elegance, supervised the final preparations, making sure everything was perfect for the guests. "Anna, everything looks simply wonderful," Nicole remarked as she adjusted a floral arrangement at the entrance. "Today is a day to celebrate new beginnings and strengthen friendships." Sharing in the enthusiasm, Anna couldn't hide the smile that lit up her face. "I never thought I'd have a moment like this again, Nicole. I'm so grateful for everything." As the guests began to arrive, the mansion filled with laughter and lively conversations. Longtime friends of Anna, neighbors from the new neighborhood, and even some new faces Nicole had made a point to invite, all gathered to honor Anna's journey and Nicole's generosity. Among the guests was Janine, bringing with her a contagious energy. She approached the two women, a radiant smile on her face. "Mom, Nicole, you've exceeded all expectations with this party. It's wonderful to see so many dear people gathered." Anna hugged Janine, her joy evident. "It's all thanks to Nicole and everyone who supported us. Today I truly feel we're celebrating not just a new home, but a new life." As the afternoon gave way to evening, soft music played in the background, complementing the sound of conversations. Nicole raised a toast, calling everyone's attention. "To all of you who share this moment with us, a toast to Anna, to her new home, and to our community that we build each day with love and support. May this be a new chapter of joys and achievements." The guests raised their glasses, echoing wishes of happiness and health. The laughter and sparkle in everyone's eyes reflected the spirit of community and mutual support the celebration aimed to honor. As the night progressed, stories were shared, each narrative weaving the community around Anna and Nikoli even stronger. The party was not just a symbol of healing and forgiveness, but also an affirmation of resilience and the capacity for renewal that everyone shared. And so, amidst hugs, music, and much laughter, the celebration continued, strengthening the bonds that united everyone present, ensuring that despite the challenges faced, hope and joy would always find space to flourish. After the euphoria and shared celebration, a day of serenity and introspection came for Anna. The sun filtered softly through the curtains, illuminating the living room where she settled into her favorite armchair, a steaming cup of tea in hand. Around her, the house was quiet, a stillness that invited reflection. Anna looked around, her gaze sweeping over each detail of the room that now breathed new memories, each object a marker of her renewed journey. With a deep sigh, she began to ponder the tumultuous past months, each event a thread in the complex tapestry of her life. "How many turns the world takes," Anna murmured to herself. "And yet, here I am, in a new home, with old friendships rekindled and a family that proved to be stronger than I ever imagined." The thought of family brought a mix of emotions. Marvin, with all his flaws and efforts for redemption, remained a central figure in her reflections. Forgiveness, she reflected, is not just about forgetting or even completely excusing. It's also about understanding, accepting imperfection, and, above all, loving despite everything. Anna reflected on resilience, not just hers, but everyone's around her. Nikoli, Janine, and even Marvin, each fighting their own battles, each showing strength in ways she hadn't previously recognized. Resilience, she whispered, is the ability to face adversity but also the ability to transform through it. As the afternoon progressed, Anna allowed herself to feel proud of the adversities overcome. The pain, betrayal, and uncertainty had been real, but so had the healing, growth, and joy. Gratitude blossomed within her, not just for her new home or regained stability, but for the deep understanding of what truly mattered: human connections, love, friendship, and the ability to start anew. She stood and walked to the window, watching the twilight beginning to tint the sky with warm colors. Every end is also a beginning, she thought. This notion of cycles and renewal now seemed not just a distant philosophy, but a lived, palpable, and deeply personal truth. As the day bade farewell, Anna felt renewed in her determination to live fully, embrace each moment, and continue building on the foundations of forgiveness and love that had been so rigorously tested. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but she now understood that each challenge was also an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to love even more deeply. As the leaves began to show the first signs of change, marking the transition to autumn, Marvin also displayed clear signs of personal transformation. After months of struggle and commitment to his rehabilitation program, he was beginning to reap the rewards of his persistent efforts. On a cold but sunny afternoon, Marvin met his mother, Anna, at a small cafe that had become their frequent meeting place. Seated at a table near the window, overlooking the quiet street, Marvin held his mother's hands, searching her eyes for any spark of pride or forgiveness. "Mom, I know words might not mean much after everything that happened, but I really am trying to change," Marvin said, his voice laden with vulnerable sincerity. "I got a job, a stable one, you know? And it's a job that makes me feel like I'm contributing, really doing something useful." Anna, listening intently, allowed herself a small smile. "Marvin, I always knew there was goodness in you. Seeing you try so hard, truly committing, it means a lot to me." Encouraged by his mother's words, Marvin continued, sharing not only about his new job, but also how he was managing his finances responsibly and had begun participating in volunteer activities. "And it's not just at work, Mom. I'm trying to be a better person in all aspects. I'm helping at a community kitchen on weekends. It makes me feel part of something bigger, you know." Anna, deeply touched by her son's visible progress, squeezed his hands. "I always had hope for you, my son. And now, seeing you like this, Doing good. It warms my heart. Marvin also sought to rebuild his relationship with his sister Janine, who had been one of his greatest supporters but also one of the most affected by his past actions. In a separate meeting with Janine, Marvin expressed his gratitude and recognition for her support. "Janine, I couldn't have done it without you," he admitted as they walked together through a park. "You didn't give up on me, even when I gave you every reason to." Janine, keeping her gaze fixed on the path ahead, responded with a note of caution but also hope in her voice. "I want to believe, Marvin. And I'm starting to see the changes. Just keep doing the work. Keep proving you can be the brother I always wanted back." The following weeks saw Marvin continuously striving to keep his promises. Each positive step reinforced his determination and strengthened the bonds that had been so severely tested. His journey was far from easy, but each day brought small victories that, together, comprised a significant achievement in rebuilding his life and his family relationships. Autumn was in full swing, with the leaves displaying a vibrant palette of yellows, oranges, and reds, when Anna, Nicoli, and Janine gathered in Anna's spacious living room. The occasion was not just to enjoy each other's company, but to discuss an issue deeply important to them. As they settled around the elegant coffee table, with warm drinks in hand to combat the crisp autumn air, enthusiasm and a sense of purpose filled the room. Anna began the conversation, expressing a desire that had grown in her heart. "After everything I've been through, and with all the support I've received from you both, I've been thinking about how we can help others facing similar challenges," Anna started, looking at Nicoli and Janine with a serious yet hopeful expression. "Many people don't have the support that I had." Nicoli, always ready to help and with resources at her disposal, nodded in agreement. "I've been thinking about that too, Anna. I believe we can make a significant difference, perhaps by starting a foundation or a support program." Janine, who had been directly involved in the legal and emotional challenges of her mother, added, "I think a foundation would be ideal. We could offer not only financial support but also legal, emotional, and even educational guidance for those lost in the midst of family or financial crises." "Exactly," Nicoli responded, picking up a notepad and pen. "We can combine our knowledge, my funding capacity, and our network to set up something structured. Something that really reaches people where they need it most." The three women then dived into intensive brainstorming, discussing possible names for the foundation, the types of services they could offer, and strategies to reach those in need. The conversation was permeated by a sense of urgency and compassion, each bringing their experiences and insights to the table. "We could start with workshops and counseling sessions," Janine suggested, "and maybe partnerships with lawyers and therapists who can offer their services at reduced rates or as part of volunteer work." Anna, moved by the energy and commitment of Nicoli and Janine, felt rejuvenated and inspired. "This all sounds wonderful. Just thinking that we can prevent someone from suffering what I went through gives me hope." As the meeting progressed, ideas began to take shape, and a concrete plan emerged. They decided to initiate the legal procedures to establish the foundation, defining a clear mission and objectives that reflected their aspirations for support and change. By the end of the meeting, the three women felt not just like planners of an ambitious project, but like pioneers of significant change in the community. With twilight approaching and the room lights glowing against the darkness outside, they bid each other farewell, each carrying a part of the renewed commitment and the promise of future meetings to turn their ideas into action. The day of the community center's grand opening dawned clear and sunny, as if the sky itself wanted to celebrate the new beginning that was unfolding. The center, a modern yet welcoming building located in the heart of the local community, was adorned with ribbons and flowers, symbolizing renewal and growth. Anna, alongside Nicoli and Janine, prepared for one of the most significant moments of her recent life. From early morning, the activity was intense. Volunteers, community members, and journalists began to gather, drawn by the promise of a project that had the potential to transform lives. The community center, envisioned by Anna and her companions, was the direct result of their experiences, designed to offer not only legal and emotional assistance to the elderly and victims of real estate fraud, but also a place of gathering and mutual support. As the guests settled in, Anna, Nicoli, and Janine took their places at the front, near the podium adorned with a large red ribbon that would be symbolically cut. Nicoli stepped forward to make the introduction. "Welcome, everyone," Nicoli began, her voice amplified by the speakers, clear and confident. "Today is not just the inauguration of a physical space. It is the birth of a vision, one that we share with everyone here. A vision of compassion, support, and community." After Nicoli's speech, Janine was invited to speak about the services the center would offer. "This place will be a beacon of hope and help. Here, anyone who has been marginalized by fraud or simply needs support in their golden years can find a listening ear and valuable resources." Finally, it was Anna's turn to speak. She approached the podium, her hands trembling slightly, not from nerves but from emotion. Looking at the crowd, she began to share her personal story, the pain of her losses, and the strength found in the solidarity of friends and family. "This center is more than a personal achievement," said Anna, her voice thick with emotion. "It is a testament to what we can accomplish when we come together to lift up those who have fallen. If my story could inspire this place, then all the hardships were worth it." After the speeches, it was time for the ribbon cutting. Anna, Nicoli, and Janine, side by side, held the scissors together. With a shared smile, they cut the ribbon, and the applause erupted, vibrant and full of hope. As the guests explored the new center, Anna allowed herself a moment of reflection. Looking around at all that had been achieved, she felt a deep peace. The future, once a source of uncertainty and fear, now shone with promises of progress and possibilities. With Nicoli and Janine by her side, chatting and laughing with the visitors, Anna knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The community center was not just a legacy of her struggle. It was a beacon of hope, a place where the future would always shine a little brighter for all who sought refuge and strength within their community.
So, if you're not subscribed yet, click on the subscribe button below and join our community. Thank you for your support and see you in the next videos.